Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. Let me just say a few words before we have yizkor, before we daven yizkor. So this time of year, the Torah, Sukkot and Shmini Atzeret and Simchas Torah, the Torah tells us, actually commands us to be joyful. The Torah, the words in Hebrew are ach sameach, that you should be joyous. This time of year is called Zman Simchatenu, the time of our rejoicing. And yet, in our world, this doesn't necessarily feel like such a joyous time. The pandemic is still upon us. Rates in many parts of the country are going up. There's been loss of life, well over 200,000 Americans, and the worldwide total I know is over 1 million, and it's rising. Our politics feel toxic. We feel like a nation divided. Many of us are struggling economically, and that's even before the pandemic, but certainly with the onset of the pandemic. So how can we call this Zman Simchatenu, the time of our rejoicing? I think attention to the Hebrew is revealing and critical. As I said, the Torah says ach sameach, which means sameach means joy or happiness, but that Hebrew word ach, it's only 2 letters, aleph, kaf, sofit, but yet it's very hard to translate. Some scholars believe it means that you should only feel joy during the Sukkot holiday and the end of the holiday season. But some commentators read that Hebrew word ach as to mean nevertheless be happy. And I think that's an apt way to think of the Hebrew phrase ach sameach. Nevertheless, in spite of our challenges, in spite of our troubles, we should still feel joy and gratitude for our many blessings in life. You know, one of my colleagues, Adam Feldman, captured this idea beautifully. He gave an Erev Rosh Hashanah sermon last year, over a year ago, and he talked about Louis Armstrong's classic song, What a Wonderful World. Feldman noted that Louis Armstrong faced many obstacles throughout his life: abandonment, poverty, racial discrimination. And yet, through his music, Armstrong spread optimism and hope. I don't know if you knew, but What a Wonderful World, this iconic ballad, was actually written by 2 Jewish songwriters, Bob Thiel and George David Weiss. It was released in 1968, which you may know was a tumultuous time in American history. Thiel and Weiss wrote this song, What a Wonderful World, in response to what they saw all around them. And they looked to Louis Armstrong to be an ambassador of peace. Now, when Armstrong first sang the song, he was criticized by members of the younger generation. They were angered by what they saw around them. They were angered by the Vietnam War. They were angered by bigotry that they witnessed. And Armstrong responded once to these critics by saying, and I'm not going to try and imitate Louis Armstrong's, amazing voice, but you can hear his voice saying the words. He said, "Some of you young folks have been saying to me, 'Hey, Pops, what do you mean, what a wonderful world? How about all them wars all over the place? You call them wonderful?'" So Armstrong continued, "But how about listening to old Pops for a minute? Seems to me it ain't the world that's so bad, but what we're doing to it. And all I'm saying is, see what a wonderful world it would be if only we'd give it a chance." I'm thinking a lot about Rabbi Feldman today. During the Thanksgiving vacation of 2019, Rabbi Feldman died of a massive heart attack while he was on vacation in Hawaii. It was truly awful. Adam Feldman and I were classmates in rabbinical school. He was the rabbi of the Princeton Jewish Center. Maybe you heard about his passing. Cantor Teplitz worked with Rabbi Feldman. She worked at the Princeton Jewish Center for a full year, while also she was working here for us. So Cantor Teplitz and I both attended Rabbi Feldman's funeral. It was packed. It was overcrowded because there was so much an outpouring of love for Rabbi Feldman. And there was a sense of shock and the need to come together because of this terrible thing that had happened. Zichrono livracha, may his memory be for a blessing. So Louis Armstrong's message and Rabbi Feldman's message is a message of optimism. I think it's so important for us as a society to try to be optimistic right now, but also for us as individuals, whether you're here in the sanctuary or watching at home. We're about to say yizkor. We think about loved ones that we have lost and the pain that we feel over their passing. But Rabbi Feldman and Louis Armstrong, I think, would have us also remember how blessed we are. Not only do we have beautiful memories of the people who are no longer with us, but we should be grateful just to be alive, and we should live with the same sense of gratitude. We should live with that sense of gratitude by doing acts of kindness every single day, and that way we can help to make sure that it is a wonderful world.